The volleyball team is almost halfway through its conference play but lost a close match against Fairfield this week. How will the Bobcats fare come playoff time? Plus, the rugby team is continuing its dominance, but will it sustain through a tough matchup against Central Washington? And hockey is back in Hamden. How will the men's and women's teams stack up this year? And finally, we introduce an all-new segment that you don't want to miss. Bobcat Breakdown starts right now. Hello, one and all, and welcome to another edition of Bobcat Breakdown. I'm John Franklin, and I'll be your host this week. I'll be joined today by two experts on all things Quinnipiac, Kyle Vassar and Kirby Paulson. Gentlemen, how are you doing tonight?
John, I'm doing just Yankee Doodle Dandy. Kyle, how are you doing?
I'm great too, Kirby. It's great to be here.
Guys, it's great to have you on. The volleyball team has been tearing up the MAC so far, but it ran into a little trouble against in-state foe Fairfield, as the Bobcats were trounced 3-0 on our own Drew Feinberg. Has more on Chris Saplinski's squad. Drew?
Volleyball team is off to its best start in program history, starting the season 14-7 and 6-2 in MAC play. Head coach Chris Saplinski, now in his 5th season, explains what he feels has been the biggest change to this once struggling program.
We switched everything up this year. Just did things a little bit different to make things fresh and new for the team. And I think everything in combination there is changing the culture of this team, this program.
Maria Pansari, one of this team's star freshmen, who was 3rd in the nation in total assists, said she didn't know what to expect from this team coming into the season.
I wasn't really sure, to be honest, but I just knew that coming in I was going to give everything I possibly could to the team and to the players, and that's exactly what I did. And I think everyone else had that type of mindset too. Both the returners and the new freshmen.
Also contributing to this change has been new assistant coach Chad Davis. Armed with a distinguished 20-year coaching career, Davis brings with him a wealth of experience as he looks to help build Quinnipiac into a contender in the MAC. Junior middle hitter Elizabeth Kloos has seen this team at its best and also at its worst, finishing last season with a record of 3-28. This season, however, she attributes this team's newfound success to team chemistry.
We were very close this year, which is awesome. We hang out a lot outside of practice and everything. Nothing's forced anymore, so that's really fun. And yeah, it's great because I play only in the front row, so to come off and be on the bench with that kind of energy is just really awesome.
Rounding out their MAC conference schedule, Coach Zaplinski has high expectations for this team for the end of the season and beyond.
Well, I think we've kind of proven that we're in the top half for sure, if not top 2, top 3 of the MAC. So our goal for the season is, of course, to win the MAC, get to the NCAAs, and that should be our goal from here on out.
Drew Feinberg, Q30 Sports.
Playoffs? We're talking playoffs? Gentlemen, the volleyball team took a tough loss against Fairfield. How do you think it will affect the team's MAC chances? Kyle, we'll start with you.
All right. Well, I think that their loss against Fairfield doesn't really change my point of view of the team. This has been a Cinderella story throughout the season. They're a team that was in the bottom of the MAC in the last few years. They went 3-28 last year. They're now 3rd in the MAC, but they lost to the reigning MAC champions, who are undefeated this year. So it doesn't really surprise me. I think they're still going to make the playoffs. They're behind a great Fairfield team and a solid Marist team. And the only 2 losses they've had are against teams in the top 4 in the MAC. So the only teams that they lost to are good. They still have a winning record, and I think Allison Lee is really going to carry this team down the stretch. She had a rough game, only 2 blocks against Fairfield, but other than that, she has almost twice as much blocks as anyone else on the team. She has 108 on the year. The next highest is 59. If she can get her act together, she will bring this team to the playoffs.
Yeah, Kyle, I got to agree with you. I mean, the level of comfortability might have changed, but I think the mindset stays the same. Losing to Niagara might have been tough, but Fairfield is no easy out. Like you said, they're undefeated in the conference. I think this team has excelled expectations this season. I think it's good to get a couple of humbling losses before you get down into this home stretch. And, freshman Natalie Alcheco actually said, I'm expecting to win everything, but I'm expecting it to get a lot harder, but I still expect to win. This is a young core that wants to win in games like this. And I don't think anything's going to stop this team until they get to the playoffs.
And even though they were swept 3-0 against Fairfield, those two first sets were close. They only lost 25-23 in the first set. Look for them to make a solid run in the playoffs.
Guys, well done, but we're going to move on here. The rugby team is rolling through its schedule with ease so far. They have outscored their opponents by a total of 213 points. But they faced Central Washington, who handed the Bobcats one of their 2 losses last year, which brings me to my next question. Kirby, how important is this matchup for the Bobcats moving forward?
Well, I got to be honest, I think this matchup against Central Washington is extremely important. I mean, Becky Carlson said it herself on Sports Pause a couple of weeks ago when she was asked about the biggest opponent of the season. She said it was Central Washington. They've squared off twice against Central Washington, and they haven't been successful. But I think this will be a really good test for a very offensive, dominant Bobcats team to go up against a team that is putting up ridiculous amounts of points just like they are.
I can't agree more. This is the game of the year for Becky Carlson's squad. They've lost, like you said, to Central Washington twice. They have never beaten Central Washington in the 6 years that Quinnipiac has had a rugby program. And last year, they also scored the least amount of points they had all season, which was 13 points against Central Washington. I could definitely see this being a national championship preview.
Well, you know, guys, if you think it's going to be a national championship preview, Kyle, does that mean you expect them to go on a win-them-all tour 2016? What are your thoughts there?
I think that they have the team to do this because they are so deep. Alona Marr is the head of this team, but she also has a lot of great pieces around her. Emily Roskopf, Flora Poole, a lot of people, like anyone can really score on this team. And if you look around the other teams around the country, the regular powerhouses such as Norwich and Army, they have losing records this year. So if they can beat Central Washington, they're in a great place.
Well, Kyle, I mean, I have to agree with you there again. And don't forget, both of these teams have each blown out the same schools, and Army, AIC, and Norwich. Again, we just talked about how offensively cataclysmic they can be, but don't forget, in any sport, tournament time comes around and anything can happen. So you never really know what's going to happen, but again, I agree with you. The depth is definitely a key that Quinnipiac's going to have to dig into and something that they're going to be able to use as a valuable asset in the future.
I think if they do get past the Central Washington squad, though, they win the rest of the regular season, though.
All right, guys, great stuff there. It's going to be interesting to see how the team fares down the stretch. We're going to transition now to the field hockey team. They're off to a 500 start this year in the Big East. They're 2-2 in their inaugural season thus far, but Curb, what's been the real story of the team this season? It's 2 wins or it's 2 losses? What do you got?
Well, you know, I think we really have to focus on the big picture here, and I do think the 2 losses is definitely the more important column here. You're going into a brand new conference. I think you got to get that adjustment time. I talked about it a couple of weeks ago, actually, and in all honesty, you got to wonder if they're going to be able to beat teams like Old Dominion and their date with UConn, which they're going to have at the end of the season. Don't get me wrong, Olivia Galini has been okay, but can she hold up that presence without a whole lot of experience going into this home stretch?
Those are good points that you brought up about UConn and Old Dominion. However, UConn is the only undefeated team left in the country, rated number 1 in the nation. They're 12-0. Old Dominion number 12. I think these the 2 wins that they've had in Big East play have been huge. Becky, I was lucky enough to be able to cover a few of the games this year. Becca Main said their game against Providence, despite it being a loss, it was the type of hockey that she has been dreaming of in the next few years. So the fact that they are already at that point, that they're playing the type of field hockey that she wants them to play, that impresses me a lot. And Olivia Galini, yes, it's her first year. I expect her to get a lot better. She shut out a great Providence team in the first half, played excellent.
Good stuff, gentlemen. When we come back, the seasons are changing. It's getting colder in Hamden, and that means it's time for hockey. These 2 Boston boys are sticking around to break it down. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Good evening and welcome to Sports Pause. In the end, we're here to win the championship this year.
Jess Fontana has that. She's going to take a ripper off the post, but she's going to come back.
And my number 1
Hold your applause, Bobcats fans, is Quinnipiac.
All right, Victoria, you know what time it is. It's top 5 plays of the week.
My favorite time.
I could really go for a Ray and Mike's sub right now.
Come to Ray and Mike's and try our Philly chicken and cheese for just over $4. Giant cheesesteak subs and mouth-watering boar's head sandwiches for as low as $4.75. Q-Cash accepted just a mile down the road on Whitney, here at Ray and Mike's.
Welcome back to Bobcat Breakdown, and it's time for hockey. I know you guys are licking your chops at this one, but first, Phil Akery stopped by to talk the women's hockey team's play so far this season.
Hey, thanks a lot for having me, guys. Let's get right down to the highlights. First one we got for you right here is UMaine against Quinnipiac. First game in the season for the Bobcats. Right down there at the bottom of the screen, you see Kenzie Lancaster. She's about to drive up the ice. She's got a main defender on her, but she puts a move on it. You can see she falls to the ground right there, but she got another one right there waiting for her. Let's see what Lancaster does now. She puts the spin around now, only to find TT Cianfrano. She was the leading scorer for the Bobcats last season. But right here, look how much open ice there is between there. She's really unguarded. Yes, there's the defender right there in front of the goalie, Carly Jackson, but that's really not going to matter. As you see, she puts the puck in the net for the goal. Let's move on now. Right here now, Melissa Samoskevich. Her and TT are really the 1 and 2 duo for this team offensively. Now you see TT right there, and now you see Melissa Samoskevich right there. She gets the puck. TT recognizes what Samo wants to do, and what she wants to do is drive across and try and get open lane to a shot. Now you see right here, TT drives across, and she really just puts that defender, and she really immobilizes her basically, allowing Samoskevich to drive up. And now right here again, you see there's really not an open lane for Samo to shoot, but Samo's so offensively talented, really doesn't matter, because right here, that defender isn't going to be quick enough to block the shot. The only person really in her way, yes, they're right there, that's TT and the main defender, but it's really just Carly Jackson, so technically it's just one-on-one. So right here now, Melissa Samoskevich scores off the top of the pole. So now right here again, Samoskevich, another goal highlight. Now you can see right there, Maine has the puck, and there's TT right there. She's going to try and get there, and she does, but she's able to get the puck back out now. You see right there, Turner right there gets the stick in the way. TT ends up getting it. She comes around now, and an all-out effort right there. You see she falls to the ground just in any effort to try and get the puck out. Right there, Samoskevich comes out, and again, it's really just one-on-one because the defenders were so focused with TT. And again, Samoskevich is going to score right off the corner. Just excellent puck placement from Samo right there. All right, next highlight now. You see that Quinnipiac gets the chance right there. That's Katie Tabin. She's a freshman, expected to be a big piece defensively for this Quinnipiac Bobcats team. You see that right now, she has 3 options that she could go to with the puck. She can go down right here to Samoskevich, right here to TT, and if she wanted to, she could go to Turner, but she's probably not since the defender right there is from Maine. Let's roll it now. You see she gets the puck off through the legs of the main defender, and right now it's 2-0 right here. You see TT's right there, Samo's right there. It seems like it's going to be an easy goal for the Bobcats, but Carly Jackson is able to defend that shot. Turner gets it, and again defends it, and Maine is on their way offensively. That's just a big piece right there of Maine's goaltending that really stood out in the second game of the series. And the last highlight we have for you guys right here, this is a Maine goal right here. You see Maine's trying to get something going offensively, and they pass right there to Morgan Sekundiak. This is going to be her first goal of the game. This even the score at 5-3. Now right here, you see Quinnipiac's got Rothke right there, TT, and then another one right there, and you got another one coming over right here. So you got 4 potential defenders right there to try and block the shot, because right now it's basically open ice for her, and they're not going to try and make it that easy for her. But anyways, she gets to it, and she's able to get the shot off. That's a lightning quick shot from Sekundiak, and she was able to do that again in the game, but the QU defenders really couldn't do anything against that, even though it wasn't really an open lane for Sekundiak, but she's able to score, and that finished out the game. Quinnipiac won that 5-4. Guys, thanks for having me. Back to the desk.
Thanks so much, Phil. And guys, this brings us to our first hockey question of the night. Kyle, with the great play so far this year, there have been a lot of players stepping up, but who do you think has been the most valuable player so far?
Well, John, I have to answer your question with another question. Kirby, what is the most valuable position on the ice hockey rink?
Goaltender.
Goaltender, exactly. So I have to go with Sydney Rossman. She was the ECAC Goaltender of the Year last year, and she's been keeping it up with a one goals against average. She had one uncharacteristic game against Maine to start off the year. I don't worry about that. She's had 3 shutouts since then. She was the most outstanding player in the ECAC tournament last year, so she's going to be clutch down the road. She stands on her head, and she has to be the most valuable player so far.
Well, I'm going to be that guy. Instead of going with the most valuable player, I'm going to go with the most valuable person. I got to go with head coach Cass Turner. Her 30 wins last season ended up making NCAA history. She became the coach that won the most for her first year in her first season in D1 women's hockey. And under her helm, the team scored 118 goals, had a 25% power play percentage, a 92.5 penalty kill percentage, 21-game unbeaten streak. These are all program records. She also made the ECAC, helped the team make the ECAC tournament, won that as well, and her efforts earned her a extension to the year 2021. She has the challenge this year of filling spots of seniors that led both offensively and leadership-wise. But again, she has young players like Abby Clary and Katie Tabin that are going to help out with that effort. And, she has the leadership to help with that. She has Captain Emma Wood, she has DT Sanfrano and Melissa Samuskevich, who now have that experience. But if really anyone's really capable of taking on that challenge, I do believe it's Cass Turner, because she's shown that she can be capable in a situation like that.
I can absolutely respect that, especially after last year where she set the rookie head coach record for most wins in a season. She's definitely a great head piece. But I have to go with someone on the ice that is in there every single game in Rossman.
All right, now transitioning over to the men's side of things, Rand Pecknold's team made a tremendous run to the national championship last season. After falling short to North Dakota, Quinnipiac has started off its season 2-1, after beating McGill and winning one and tying one against Northeastern this weekend. Now we're going to start a segment we like to call One Word. It's where each of our tremendous analysts are going to have a whiteboard. I'm going to give them a topic, and they're going to take that topic and write one word down about it. I can't wait to see what answers they got. Guys, number 1. Last year, Quinnipiac made it to the championship game. What are your expectations for the team this year after such a good year?
John, you want me to take the lead with this one? All right, well, I got to go with rebuilding. And here's the thing. Whenever you make it to a national championship, Kirby, you have to have superstars on your team. You have arguably one of the best Quinnipiac men's ice hockey players ever in Sam Annis. He was the National Rookie of the Year. He led the team in points all 3 seasons that he was there. You're losing your second best forward in Travis St. Dennis. You're losing your starting goalie. And then you're also losing the highest draft pick ever in the best defenseman, Devon Taves, from last year. So they're losing a lot of key pieces. However, Rand Pecknold has been there before. This is his 23rd year at the helm of the Bobcats. He was the Tim Taylor National Coach of the Year last year, and you can see that he has the depth to still compete at this level. I think it might take another year or two, though, to get back to the big dance.
Kyle, I'm going to have to go with neutral, and I'll tell you why. Yeah, I was actually very impressed with what I saw this weekend, regardless of the lack of discipline that showed at times. But I think the team does have the pieces to get through the ECAC tournament and maybe possibly into the national tournament as well. I don't think it's anywhere near the skill that they had last year, but again, they proved me wrong before. I think when you look at it, I was very impressed with Chris Trule's play. I didn't know exactly what to expect going in, but this kid stood tall and he really did make it look great. Another brilliant thing that we continue to sometimes forget is Rand's hockey IQ. And that is, for a perfect example, he moved defenseman Luke Shipwell onto the third line of forwards, but that also gives you power play depth. The ability to get a forward and a defenseman out there at the same time in one player is a big deal. So I think this is going to be kind of a rebuilding year, but again, I'm staying neutral this one and seeing what we can get in a couple more game action situations.
Guys, now, Kirby, you had noted it, Chris Trule, he had 67 saves in 71 shots so far this year. There's a lot of hype around the Air Force transfer. This is a simple yes or no, guys. Do you think he will live up to the expectations that he has? Kirb, you're going to start this one off.
Yes, I do. I think Chris Trule is actually fairly impressive. He's got a big build, but his reflexes really showed this weekend against a really tough Northeastern team. I think anytime you're dealing with guys like Adam Gaudette and the Stevens brothers, you got to be on your guard. He's no Michael Gottig, unfortunately for you, Kyle, but again, he's really been impressive in these first 2 games. He's seeing game action for the first time as he sat out last season after playing more than 50 games at Air Force. So again, Not really sure what to expect going forward, but I do think he's living up to the hype, especially after a goalie controversy where we didn't know who was going to start the season. He really did impress against a tough team like that.
I also have to go with yes, and I underlined it, maybe even add a little Gartig-esque next to it because he impressed me so much this weekend. He's playing a top 15 team in Northeastern. How nerve-wracking can it be when there's a goalie controversy going on? You have to fill the shoes of Gartig, one of the best goalies in program history, and he goes out there. He had the second most saves ever in one period in the second period against Northeastern in Game 1. He had 16 saves in the first game. Forget about the goal that he let up with 53 seconds left. He impressed me so much. Like you said with Adam Gaudette, that's a tough player. That's a great player, one of the best players in the country, and I thought he did a great job against him.
Guys, the team has put up 9 goals in 3 games. One word to describe that kind of offense. Give it to me, Kyle.
And excuse my handwriting, but deep. And there are so many players that can score at any given instance on this team. I see Tim Clifton being the biggest goal scorer of the year. He was tied for second in the country last year in power play goals. Now, the power play was a little weak, in my opinion, this past weekend. I think it's just going to take a little time. Tim, I talked to him after the game. He said communication was the toughest part between it, but he thinks once they start to gel, the power play will be what it's been in the past, because in the last 5 years, their power play conversion has been the highest rate in the country. They're above North Dakota, they're above Denver, so their power play is really what they strive on. So I'm going to look for that in their upcoming weekend against Maine. But they also have a lot of young talent. I think Carlos Chuksta is a rising star. He's a San Jose Sharks draft prospect. He had a goal this weekend. He can add some depth to this team.
Kyle, we're going to head over to Kirby on this one. Kirby, what do you got?
I'm going with unsure. Besides one exhibition game and 2 actual regular season games, I don't know that I can sit here and say for sure this is exactly how the offense is going to play out. It's kind of like depending on the USCHO poll right now. We're 2 games in. You can't sit here and say, oh, well, those are reliable stats. I mean, there's just no way of knowing. Teams go through really good stances and really bad stances. We haven't seen enough action this year to say, oh, this is consistent, or oh, this isn't consistent. It's just too soon for me to tell. I think they have talent there. I think they have guys that can put the puck in the back of the net. But again, I think it's going to be an adjustment period because it's a completely different core.
Well, even though it isn't ECAC play yet, you're a Hockey East buff, Curb. Are you impressed with this 1-0-1 series against Northeastern?
I am, and I'll tell you something. Quinnipiac met the challenge, and their challenge was to go out and grind against this tough team. Jim Madigan's team loves to play a very aggressive style of play. So I am impressed. But again, we're 2 games in. You never know what's going to happen further down the road.
True.
All right, guys, last one. Penalties have been a big problem for Quinnipiac thus far this season. 18 penalty minutes so far. Give me one word to describe them going to the box so often.
You can go first.
Well, it's not really a word. It's more of a phrase, and that phrase is, And I'll tell you why. We know this team likes to go out and grind and play a very physical style. I think there's a lot of teams that understand that in this conference. But again, Rand Pecknold said something very interesting in the press conference the other day when they asked him what he thought about the increase in calls on stick contact. And that was that the refs are retaking the rule book. So the question is Quinnipiac going to be able to control themselves going forward, keep that discipline within game situations so they're not putting the opposing team on the man advantage? That's an important thing to ask, but again, we're 2 games in.
Exactly. I also had a bit of a phrase. It's you need to cut it. They're just giving up way too many penalties. Excuse me if I'm using a song lyric. But there was a total of 48 penalty minutes in this game. Thank God for them that their penalty kill was so effective and that Chris Truel had the weekend that he did. And Rand Pecknold, after the game, said the reason they won was because of the shot blocks that they had. They had 24 shot blocks compared to Northeastern's 9. Crazy stat.
I think Tim Clifton alone had 7 on the weekend.
Oh, yeah. He had 3 in the last game, 4 in game 1. But Tim, after the game, also had said that he's just so impressed, especially with these young guys that will eat pucks and to take whatever it needs to win.
All right, guys, when we come back, these guys are going to talk all things soccer, and we have an all-new segment you don't want to miss. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back after these messages.
Good evening and welcome to Sports Pause.
In the end, we're here to win the championship this year.
Jess Fontaine now has that. She's going to take a ripper off the post, but she's going to come back.
And my number one, hold your applause, Bobcats fans, is Quinnipiac.
All right, Victoria, you know what time it is? It's top 5 plays of the week.
My favorite time.
I could really go for a Ray and Mike sub right now.
Come to Ray and Mike's and try our Philly chicken and cheese for just over $4. Giant cheesesteak subs and mouth-watering boar's head sandwiches for as low as $4.75. Qcash accepted just a mile down the road on Whitney, here at Ray and Mike's.
Welcome back to Bobcat Breakdown. We're in the home stretch now, and we're going to talk soccer. The women's soccer team has had a plethora of sophomores to talk about. You got Jess Gargan, Nadia Gill, 2 names right there. Guys, are these sophomores the most important part of this team? Curb?
Well, you know, I'll start out. For the future, that argument can be made, but right now, absolutely not. The current state of the squad, you can't say that. Yeah, Nadia Gill, Al Pelletier, people like that are important, but you also got Jess Fontaine and Sarah Pandolfi. Not to mention Olivia Majewski, the Frosh goalkeeper that's been really excelling with the majority of stats she's gotten. So I think you really have to think about the idea that teams win because teams work together. It's not one collective group of it's one certain class. So I really think you got to take that into account.
I have to disagree with you, Kirby. I think that this sophomore class has to be the most important part of this team because they have the best player on their team in Nadia Gill. Since they came in as freshmen, they have turned this program around into one of the better teams in the MAC. John mentioned Jess Gargan. She was an All-MAC rookie last year. Nadia Gill, the MAC Rookie of the Year as a freshman. She currently leads the team in goals. And I think your point about the seniors have to be what your focus is. Dave Clark still has these sophomores for 2 more years. So I think if he can develop them, he can turn into the number 1, number 2 team in the MAC.
All right, guys, now we're going to go over to the men's side of things. We're still talking young guns here. Eamon Whalen, Chris Jacobitis, they're the freshmen on the team. Have they impressed you, or can the team still improve? What do you think, Kyle?
Eamon Whalen and the rest of this freshman class has completely exceeded my expectations. This is a team, Kirby, that won 1 regular season game last season, and now they have 5. Eamon Whalen is second in the MAC in goals. He leads his team in goals with 7. And you also have their goalie, Chris Sistomas. He has a .71 goals against average. Second in the MAC. He also has an .848 save percentage, which leads the conference. He could be the goaltender of the year for the MAC, and he's been huge for this team.
Well, I'm also impressed, but I'll always take the pessimist route, and I'll say that there's always room for improvement with these young guys. Their job going forward, especially with a heavy-laden freshman and sophomore team, is to develop and establish themselves as the leaders of this team. Guys like Eamon Whalen and defenseman Connor McCoy are what make the future bright, but in order to succeed, these guys are really going to have to nail their post down.
All right, guys, now we're going to head over to our highly anticipated segment, Could, Should, Won't. Both Kyle and Kirby will pick a team from each of the categories. Could, meaning the team has a chance to make the playoffs. Should, meaning the team will make the playoffs. And of course, won't, meaning the team won't make the playoffs. Kyle, how about you start us off?
With the women's soccer team?
Any team you want, guys, so far this year. Do you think a team that will, a team that could?
I'll start with the women's soccer team since we were just talking about them a segment ago. I think they should make the playoffs because of their sophomore class and their defense. Their goaltender just won defensive player of the year defensive player of the week for the MAC Nadia Gill has continued to kill it as she has started from last season. And I think Dave Clark really has a good control on this team.
I'll jump over to the men's side. I think they could make the playoffs, but here's the thing. You got to think about, are they going to continue to see consistent scoring from guys like Eamon Whalen, and is Jakovitis going to keep up his performance so far? Having a rookie performance like this is great, but whether the consistency stays or not is a different story.
All right, guys, well, that's all the time we have here on Bobcat Breakdown. Don't forget to follow us on social media at Q30 Sports, at Q30 Television, and at QBSN. Plus, check out our websites at www.q30television.com and www.theqbsn.com. For Kyle Vassar, Kirby Paulson, and everyone behind the scenes, I'm John Franklin. Have a great night and a pleasant tomorrow, everyone.